Okay, welcome to Asher and Torah Time, and we are up to Perek Chavtes. We finished last week's Perek about the seance where this medium brought up Shmuel Hanavi from the dead. Shmuel Hanavi said the exact same thing that he told him back then, and now Shmuel Hanavi leaves the medium's house, and he's really afraid that he's going to die in battle. And as the story is going on, the camera within the Navi shifts to another scene, and it takes us back to Achish, who had David HaMelech as a mercenary. If you remember that David HaMelech joined forces with Achish, and he gave him Tziklag. Achish gave David HaMelech a region called Tziklag, and David acted as his mercenary. He would go out and he would keep all of the neighboring nations or tribes out, but he never ever touched the Jews. And Achish saw David as a very loyal mercenary. Vayikbitzu Pelishtim es kol machaneim afeko. So while this whole story is going on, back on the scene where the Pelishtim are gathering their troops to Afeko, Vayisrael choyne ba'ayin, and the Jews are resting in Ayin Asher b'Yisrael. V'sarnei Pelishtim oivrim, and the generals of the Pelishtim are leading their troops l'meos v'la'alofim v'David v'anoshav oivrim b'achroino im Achish. So this is a very weird situation where you have the Pelishtim are fighting against the Jews. They're gathering their troops, coming. The battle is coming to, it's coming closer and closer. Achish, who's the king in the Pelishti territories, is joining the Pelishtim to fight against the Jews. And David, with his 600 Jewish soldiers, who are mercenaries, are joining the Pelishtim to fight against the Jews, going together with Achish. So David is in a huge predicament over here. So the Pelishtim see that these partisan, that we said, they see these mercenaries, these soldiers together with Achish, with David, and they say, what are these Jews doing over here? What's going on? So Achish tells the generals of the Pelishtim, the governors, this is David, who was a servant to Shaul, the king of the Jews, who's with me all these days and all these years, for a long time. And I have never found any deficiency in him from when he came and he fell into our hands till today. He's loyal. Now don't forget, Shaul is out to kill David. David HaMelech is running away from Shaul. Achish gives him safe haven. They make an agreement, and he says, since then he's been faithful to me. All of Sari Pelishtim. So the Pelishtim get mad at him. Sari Pelishtim, are you serious? Get him out of here, send him back to where he was in Tziklag. He shouldn't come down with us at battle. He's going to turn to us to become an enemy. He's going to end up backstabbing us. Which honestly, they were right. If you think about it, they were actually right. It made absolutely no sense that you're going to take David to fight against the Jews. How is he going to try to gefel? How is he going to try to please you? With our heads. It makes no sense. That's this David which they said it's very strange, because if you remember back in the story when David HaMelech was captured or almost captured, and they took him to Achish, the same Achish, when it was running saliva down his beard, and he went nuts. And he was banging on the gates. The soldiers were also saying, this is David, who they said, and here they're saying it again, that this is David, who they said, that Shaul killed thousands with David, tens of thousands. So what are you, nuts? You're going to bring him along to backstab us. Vayikra Achish al David vayemer Elav. So Achish calls David. Now I'm sure David HaMelech sighs a huge breath of sigh of relief over here. That he calls him and he says, Chai Hashem ki yosher ato. I swear in the name of God that you're straight, you're good. V'tiv be'inai tzezcho v'yachal iti v'machna. Whenever you came and you went, you were loyal to me. I never found anything bad in you. What should I do? In the eyes of the generals, they don't like you, they don't approve of you. They don't want you to come along. Go back to Tziklog. Plishtim don't do anything. And you won't do anything bad in the eyes of these Plishtim, but I can't do anything. There's higher ups above me too. David feigns, he plays the game and he says, what did I do wrong? Why are you chasing me away? I'm loyal. Why can't I come battle along with you, Melech? My own assumption is, I didn't see it in any of the Mefarshim, my own imagination takes me to this point where I believe that David wanted to come along with Achish because he wanted to be able to save the Jews from behind and backstab all the Plishtim, exactly what they were afraid of. That would have been a beautiful story. If he would have been within the army and then he has 600 guys and he gives them the sign and then they start attacking all of their fellow chevra, it would have been gewalt. Vayan Achish v'yemer el David, Yodati I know, ki toivato, be'inai kemalach elikim. Ach sare plishtim amru, but the sare plishtim, but the governor said, Lo yale imanu b'mochama, you shouldn't come up with me in battle. Va'ata ashkin b'boiker, you get up in the morning, avdi adonai chashabo itach, with all of your chavra from that, with all of your chavra from before that belong to Shaul, v'ishkamtem b'boiker, get up in the morning, v'oilochem v'lechu, as soon as it's daybreak, go, leave. V'yashkem Davidu v'anoshav l'lechez b'boiker loshav al tzikras plishtim. So David turns around and they go back. Now, here's the Ashgacha Piratas in the story. Here's the crazy part of the story. While they were out, what do you think happened? So you have to understand that the entire region is now empty of men. The entire region, everyone is joining the Plishtim for this huge battle that's going to take place against the Jews. So all the men and all the males are packing out. Don't forget, one of the neighboring nations that David used to fight against was Amalek. So while David with his camp leaves Tziklog, Amalek realizes that there's no guards, nobody's watching. Vayashkem David v'anoshav v'lechez b'boiker loshav Plishtim, u'Plishtim olu Yisrael, and the Plishtim go Yisrael. Perik Lamed. V'hi b'voy David v'anoshav Tziklag v'yom hashlishi. They come back to Tziklag, and what do they see? Tragedy. V'amoleki poshtu el Negev el Tziklag. The Amolekim spread out over the Negev and Tziklag. V'yaku es Tziklag v'yisiv ru'os ha'beish. They destroy Tziklag. They raze it to the ground. They burn it down with fire. Which means that the Amalekim were taking advantage. Now, before we go on in the story, you think the story is terrible. Terrible story. They left, and the Amalekim came. But what would have happened if he would have went to battle along with the Plishtim, or with Achush? What would have happened? Then everything would have been lost. There would have never been the end of the story that you'll see right now, because he would have been on battle, and the entire, you'll see what happened. Vayaku es Tziklag, vayisav es habeish, vayishbu es hanoshim asher bo mikotten vad godel, lehemisu ish. So they captured all of the women from all of the children. They didn't kill anybody. Vayinagu vayelchu dakim. They captured them as loot. They captured them as slaves. And they went on their way. They come back and the entire village is burnt down with fire. Their wives, their children, their sons, their daughters, everybody was captured. David and the entire people that were with him broke down in tears. They cried so much they had no strength left to cry. V'shtei nishei David nishbu, and the two wives of David were captured. Achinoyam hayizraelis, v'Avigail eshes Naval haKarmeli, and Abigail, who was the wife, the former wife of Naval, which we learned about, Vatitzer David ma'oid, and David was terribly tzar. Ki amru, because he said, Ha'am l'sokloi, the people are going to stone me. Ki mara nefesh kol ha'am ish albonav al benoisov. Now, don't forget, we're going to repeat this again and again. This is a very key point in the transition of David HaMelech becoming a leader, was that he became initially a leader over 400 mad, angry men. The 400 people who were with David HaMelech were depressed people, people who had, now it's 600, but the initial 400, David HaMelech begins his movement with 400 lawbreakers, people who had nothing to lose, people who were vagabonds, criminals, delinquents. And these people were mara nefesh, that's what the Pasuk said, these were bitter people. So now that they finally built up Tziklag and they had families, and they started a new life with David, and now they went out to battle because David said, let's come along, and they come back, and their entire village was sacked, and they had nothing left, it was burnt to the ground, and they were homeless once again. They were once again left with nothing, no home, no wives, no kids. Ki mara nefesh kol ha'am ish albonav al benoisov. So when you have, in Yiddish you say verbitterte Menschen, this bitter people, and then there's verbitterte Menschen. You have people who are bitter, period. But now the bitter people are bitter. You're dealing with difficult crew, you're dealing with difficult people who never paid bills, people who ran away from responsibility, people who were running away from the law. And now they had a second, and David was plain scared for his life. Vayischazek David b'Hashem Elekov. Vayischazek David b'Hashem Elekov. David was mechazik himself in Hashem. Again, you always have to put yourself in the context of what's happening over here. You can't imagine what it means to start something from scratch. It's one thing when you take over. When you start a movement from scratch, when you come in and you become the leader of a difficult cavemen, people running away, and you build them up, and you establish a village, and you marry them off one by one, and you build families, and then you're taking a risk, and they're trusting in you, and then finally you go out there with this achish, and Hashem, there's a miracle that Hashem sends them back. And you come back and you find that you were taken advantage of and you're decimated. And the people tell you, why did we ever go? And everyone has kashas, there's nothing left to do. You're helpless. You're powerless. Which was Hagishan Olo Ephod. So we have two Hashgacha Pratasin over here. Number one was that Achish sent him back, so he comes back. So at least he found that it was ransacked, and he found that his wife and all the wives of his people were killed and everything was looted. Second siyata d'shmaya that he had was that back in the day, from the whole story of Noivira Kaihanim, when Shaul killed them out, Evyaser HaKohen ben Achimelech escaped to David, and with him what did he take? Who remembers? The Urim V'Tumim. And that's how David got the Urim V'Tumim. So now David, in enemy territory, by the Plishtim, in Tziklag, has the Urim V'Tumim, and he has the ability to connect to Hashem and ask him what's going on. Last page we were talking about that Shaul HaMelech lost the Urim V'Tumim. He didn't have a way to communicate with Hashem. He had to come on to the Oivi Adoini, to the medium, to bring him up from the dead.
He found the Wi-Fi code.
He found what? He found the Wi-Fi code. Bring me the ephod. Vayagesh Ev Yosser as ephod al David, vayishal David v'Hashem leimod. Erdef achri agdud hazeh. Ha'asigenu. Should I go after this camp? Should I go chase him down? Should I go get those Amalekim? Will I succeed? Vayomer loi. And Hashem said through the Urim V'Tumim, go after him. Ki hasek tasek. You'll get him. Not only will you get him, the hatzel tatzel, you're also going to save whatever was taken. I was listening to a shir from Yitzchak Breitowitz, a tremendous Talmud Chacham in Israel. Yitzchak Breitowitz, I think it was in either Sameach, tremendous Talmud Chacham. So I was listening to a shir from him, and he asked the kasha that he didn't say an answer. I don't need to have an answer. I'm just telling you the question just because it was an interesting question. Where he says, how in the world were there so many Amalekim? The whole reign of Shaul HaMelech is, let's say, 2 years, but Shaul killed all of the Amalekim besides for Agag. So, the only guy left is Agag, and according to Chazal, that Agag impregnated this Shivcha, so there was seed of Agag, but there's still no huge encampment of Amalekim who are coming. And here the Psukim are saying that Amalekim came and they captured Ziklag, and there was like 1,000 of them. So the question is, where did they come out from? And he doesn't say a teretz. I don't either know teretz. I'm just presenting the question. Vayelech.
Maybe that's from the animals. He didn't kill the animals. So.
He didn't kill the animals, but the Amalekim.
They were able to transform into animals. I think there's a medrash or Rashi that says the reason why they killed the animals.
A medrash?
Because they could. The Amalekim had a kishur that
Got it.
transformed into animals.
Pshat, I don't know the teretz. I don't know the teretz. It's a good question. So now very interesting what's happening next. David goes down with his 600 peeps, right? They come down to this river called Nachal Apsoid. So the weak ones remain behind. So you have to understand that going down. So David goes with 400 guys. So it's very interesting, this idea that this 400, this number 400, 200 stay behind. 200 of them were pagodim. They had no koyach anymore. They were like, I'm done. Can't do this, staying behind. I'm going to watch the gear. I'm staying behind.
The same thing happened before when he went.
Right. Right, that was also, it's just interesting equation, that a third stayed behind. 2/3 came along. Vayimtzu ish mitzri. So they're charging up, they pass over Nachal Apsoid, 400 of the guys, based on the Urim V'Tumim's promise that they're going to make it. And David HaMelech is leading them into the battle. Vayimtzu ish mitzri. They find a mitzri, Basoda, this guy is dying. They find a dying man in the field. They're charging and they see a guy dying in the field. Ish mitzri. Vayikhu oiso David. They bring him to David. And they see a guy dying, so they gave him bread, they gave him water, they see this guy is dying. They gave him dates, and 2 something of raisins, some type of, I don't know, I think tzimukim is raisins. And they brought him back to life. They literally revived him. He really didn't eat or drink for 3 days and 3 nights. Who are you? What are you doing out here in the field alone? What happened to you? Where are you from? Just to bring out the cruelty of Amalekim. You know, when the Torah says eradicate Amalek, and you say you feel bad for Amalek, like why should you eradicate women and children? What did the children do wrong? Very famous question. But if you just read the psukim, the descriptions of what Amalekim were capable of, you get a certain sense that you don't want this DNA to exist. And he said, Nar mitzri anoichi. I'm a servant, I'm a slave, I'm an Egyptian slave. Eved leish Amaleki, I'm a slave to an Amalek guy. Vayazveini adoini, he left me, abandoned me on the field. Ticholisi ayom shloisha. I was sick. So he left me to die in the field without giving me any bread or any water. He just abandoned me to die. Could you imagine? Just the cruelty of it. It's like, first of all, it just gives you a glimpse into what slavery was. It gives you a glimpse of what Amaleki slavery was. That you had no use for this guy anymore. He wasn't able to serve it. You didn't even do anything. You just let him rot in the field. You let him die from hunger. Like, at least kill him, shoot him. Why are you letting him leave him in the field to die and be exposed to the elements? But that's Amalek. Amalek is that if it doesn't serve me, I don't care. The Amalekim we spread out all the crazy, Valasher Yehuda al Negev Kolev, and all over the region of Yehuda till Negev Kolev, as Tziklog Serafnu Beish, and Tziklog we destroyed with fire. So once he said that, they knew that he's the real deal and he actually knows inside info. V'yemer David said, hey, this guy has information. Hasirideni al Agduda Zeh, will you take me down to the camp of the Amalekim? Well, obviously, if his Amaleki master just left him there to die without food and water, and he left him there to rot, probably he'll be okay to lead him. Vayomer, and he said, "Yishamali velikim im timiseni v'im tazgireni bi'ad adoini." If you're going to swear to me by God that you won't kill me and you're not going to give me back to my owner, to my slave owner, because obviously he's going to kill me, especially if I was talking to you. I'll take you down. So here's already like the third Hashgacha Pratis which is coming their way, that they accidentally find the person. Now, just imagine, I just want you to zoom in a second into the story. Imagine David wouldn't have compassion on this person dying in the field. He would have the Amaleki attitude. And they would just leave him because he's a Mitzri. Who cares? You know what he would have missed? The instructions that he's going to give him how to get to the Amaleki. So the compassion of David was exactly what saved him. Vayomer, and he said, here's where you see one of the examples of was mitititn for sich allein. You know what you do for yourself. That means ultimately when you help others, you get helped yourself. Vayomer, and he said, Yishamali belekim im timiseni im tazgereni v'avadoni v'yiditcha l'gdudazeh v'yoyrideyu, and he brings them down. He leads them to the place where the camp of the Amaleki tribe is. V'hinei nitushim al pnei kol haaretz. The Amalekim are spread out in the field. Now, just go into the minds of the Amalekim. They had no reason to believe in a million years that anybody's coming to get him. Why? Because in their minds, where was David and his 600 people? With Achish, in the battlefield against the Jews. So they knew they have a free and clear territory. They can do whatever they want. They can take all the women, all the children, plunder everything, and life is good. So after they plundered the entire region, they sat down to party. They were having a party of their life. It was a festival. They had their entire camps of women, children, sheep, money, livestock, gold, silver, tents, food, l'chaim. Life was good. But when you get paid back from David HaMelech, it's not so much fun. Vayakem David mahaneshef va'ad erev lemachrasam. From the morning till the next night, David HaMelech splendid. He's splendid. And they came down hard. Now they were unprotected, they had much more. David only had 400 people, they had much more. But he came down hard. Nobody escaped from the Amalekim besides 400 guys on camels. This seems to be like the logistical crew. It was like the logistical crew, the guys on the camels who were bringing supplies. They were on the camels, so they packed out, so they escaped. But the Amalekim who were there, David destroyed. So again, I just found it interesting that 400, David comes with 400. I'm just finding this number 400 and 400 bounds, I don't know the connection. I'm just telling you, it's very interesting, this theme of 400 going throughout the words. Asherach v'agmalim v'yanusan, and they escape. V'yatzel David as kol asher lokhu Amalek. David saved everything that Amalekim took. V'eshtei nashav hitzel David, and his 2 wives he also saves. Now, just another question I heard from Rabbi Yitzchak Bradowitz, which I didn't know what teretz on. His two wives. He had Abigail, and what was the other one's name again? Achinoyam and Abigail. So he saves his 2 wives. So Rabbi Bradowitz asked there, and the Mepharshim talk about it, that this is very problematic because so nothing, Baruch Hashem, everything was saved. Their wives, the kids, the children. All of the shalal, all of the loot that Amalekim took, he returned. Vayikach David as kol hatzayin va'abakar. He took all of the tzayin, all the bakar. So all of the people were marching with all the shal, and he said, this is the shlal David. So the problem was that he asks is that how was he able to take all of the shalal that Amalekim have? The whole reason why Shaul HaMelech lost the kingdom was because he left over from the shalal. So how was David able to leave over from the shalal from Amalek? Now, it doesn't mean that he actually left from the shalal of Amalek. It means the Amalekim captured shalal from the Jewish, from Tziklag, and all from the entire region. So the extra loot, which the Amalekim took from other tribes which were around in the region, those he took for himself. And the question is that once they belonged to Amalekim, how was he able to take it? You can answer that it wasn't really theirs. It really belonged to other tribes. Another question, just putting it out there. Anyway, Vayovoy David el Mosayim Anoshim Asher Pigru Mileches Achrei David. So David came back now to the 200 Pugurim, the 200, let's call them slouchers, the 200 guys who said, I don't have koyach for this. They stayed behind to watch the camp. V'yeshivum b'nachal Absoir, v'yetze likras David v'likras Om Asher Ito. So obviously David's coming back now with a huge amount, with all the women, the children, sheep, cattle, tzitzik. Now David's coming home the winner, yeah? Vayigash David Elohim vayishalem l'shalom. He goes out to his 200 people and he says, Shalom, Shalom, Anishma. Tzitzik, how was it? What's going on? And I love this next pasuk. I just love these psukim. Mamash gives me chayes every time I learn it. Vayan, and his people came to him with tainus. David's 400 guys who came to him. Vayan, kol ishra uvlial me'anashim asher hochlim David. All of these bad people, uvlial. You know what vlial means? A blial, bli oil. Blial means a bli oil. People free. Yeah, free for all, freeloaders. Belial means people you just can't get along with. Let's say it. Belial. So Vayan, Kol Ishiro Belial Ma'anoshim Asher Ochem David. All of the bad, Beli oil people, all of the difficult people that David HaMelech was had in this camp. Let's be very politically correct. Let's just say they were difficult. Vayomer, when they said, no way! These guys who didn't come to battle with us, we ain't going to give them nothing from what we got, from the loot. We're going to give them back their wives and their kids, we're going to be nice, and then they should pick themselves up, and they should leave. Pits. You stayed behind. I went to battle. You think I'm going to give you something? This is the people David is dealing with. This is how, you should be moichel, this is how Klal Yisrael was built. With a David who was the king of the vagabonds, the Ra, the Belials, the Marei Nefesh, Vayomer David, and David says, Lo Yisasuke, it doesn't work that way. Echoi, he says Achi. Lo Yisasuke, Achi. My brother. It's not the way it works, brothers. Holy brothers, he says. Holy brothers, holy friends. It's not the way it works. You know, God is the one who gave it to us. He was the one who watched over us. By the way, if you forgot that if we wouldn't have been sent away from Achish, we would have never have saved our wives and children, because we would have been still fighting, quote unquote, with the Plishtim. If we wouldn't have found this Mitzri, we would have never have gotten here. If I wouldn't have had the Urim V'Tumim, I would have never have known where to go and what to do. God was good to us. It's nothing about you fighting, you're shallow, you did something, you didn't do nothing. It's Asher Nosna Hashem Lonu V'Yishmer Etzanu V'Yitnes HaGedud Haba Oleinu B'Yadeinu. He's the one who gave this entire camp in our hands. He's the one who helped us destroy the Amalekim. Umi yishma lachem ladavar hazeh, ki chelek hayel b'malchama u'chelek hayoyshev v'lakelim yardav yachleiku. Those that went out to battle, those that stayed behind and watched the gear, we split the loot equally. So this was a very revolutionary idea, because in the way how human instinct works, it doesn't work that way. It's like, I worked, I got paid. You didn't work, you don't get paid. I once heard something very interesting. I'm going off a side road now, that in Japan, I don't know if it's true, could be something, I just heard it from somebody who made it up, but it's a good story whether it's true or not, is that in Japan there's companies, and American companies work, you get paid. You know, you hire a person, you get paid, the guy gets a better job, he leaves. That's usually how the system works. And you have all different levels of compensation. In Japan, not communism where everyone's equal, quote unquote, which is anyway not equal. Not China, I'm saying in Japan, I heard that there's such a model of companies where everybody in the company gets stuck. And you come into the company, it doesn't make a difference if you're the CEO, if you're the finance guy, or you're the janitor. It doesn't make a difference. You're the sales department, you're in the front desk. Everyone gets sales stuck in this company. And therefore, everybody has an interest to work together as a team to make this company grow. It's just this concept, which it's a huge leadership idea, where it's not about my personal, it's not about me, it's about us, it's about like the big picture. Leadership is about for the greater good of the company, for the, ask not what the country can do for you, what you can do for the country. It's about the greater good of the company. So this is a theme in Navi, where you see where David HaMelech here sets the tone with all of his shkutzim, let's call them, where he says it doesn't work that way. We're here for the big, greater good of the company. In every company, you will always have those that work and those who are there behind because they don't have koiches, and we give them a small job that they should just guard the gear, stay behind. But you should know we split the loot equally. Everyone has their purpose. Not everybody can do the same jobs. Some people have more koiches than others, and the fact that you have more koiches than other people doesn't mean that you're better than them or that you deserve more than them. It just means that you were granted this schia that you can do more, but the loot, everybody gets their share. Historical fact, from that day and on, they made a law, they made a rule, that whenever you go out to battle and you split the loot, it gets split equally. I love this next psukim, it's mamash gavald. David comes back to Tziklag. They come back to their raised town, which was raised to the ground. Now David's not only happy, not only institutes that he splits the shalom with the guys who stayed behind to watch the gear, he also gives to all of the Mosdos. Not like Novel, not like if you remember the story of Novel, who didn't want to share anything, he went the opposite way. To all of his friends. Whoever was David's friends got a cut in the loot. David got a windfall, he said, okay, now it's good for the Jewish people. Now, jetzt kommt Chalika. Now it's Purim afternoon, whoever wants, and unlike when he went to Novel and he said, Novel, hey, I'm protecting you, share something with the people who are hungry. And Novel said, no way, you're a bunch of runaway slaves, I'm not going to let it go. David said, whoever's my friend, I got a big windfall from heaven, let's share. Gave tzedakah. Here's a blessing from the shlal of the enemies of Hashem. And here there's the Rishima. There's a list of all of the Mosdos that David HaMelech made checks to. L'asher b'Beisel, v'lasher b'Ramois, Negev, v'lasher b'Yatir, v'lasher b'Aroyer, v'lasher b'Shifmois, v'lasher b'Estoimoya, v'lasher b'Rocho, v'lasher b'Orei Hayarach Me'eli, v'lasher b'Orei Akeni, v'lasher b'Chorma, v'lasher b'Vor Osham, v'lasher b'Asoch, v'lasher b'Chevron. 13 places where David wrote checks to all of the region, and he split the wealth, spread the wealth, gave everybody a share in the deal, and he created good feeling and good energy all around. And to all of the places where David and his people went, he spread the wealth, and as we're going to see later, this helped him many, many years later. It helped him a long way gone. Chaim.